At 10 o'clock in the evening, I was alone at home and ordered a takeaway. To avoid waste, I added a note: just give me half a portion of rice. I can't finish more. After the rider delivered it, he knocked on the door and asked me to come out and get it. Standing at the entrance, I shouted towards the living room, "Husband, the takeaway has arrived. Go and get it." "Oh my. You're so lazy. I'm really fed up with you." All right. I'll get it this time then." Just a second before I opened the door, I heard the rider chuckle. "Stop pretending. You're alone at home, right?" After the rider said this sentence, the air was completely silent, except for the rustling sound of the night wind blowing the curtains. Everything seemed to fall into a deathly silence. I didn't dare to breathe loudly, and could only hold my phone tightly. After a while, a loud male voice came from inside the room. "Wife, hasn't the takeaway arrived yet?" Obviously, there is a man in the room. Sure enough, hearing this voice, the rider's attitude outside the door immediately changed. He first coughed twice, and then said apologetically, "Sorry, Madame, I was just joking with you." I didn't speak but leaned against the peephole and looked outside. I saw a middle-aged man in his 30s or 40s standing outside my door. He was wearing a baseball cap and the yellow uniform uniformly issued by the takeaway platform. Perhaps because of his running around, his shirt was already faintly soaked with sweat. The light in the corridor was very dim. Under the effect of the concave convex lens of the peephole, his figure looked a bit distorted. I put my hand on the doorknob, but my heart was beating very fast. The man carefully placed the takeaway on the doormat outside my house and knocked on the door twice gently. "Madam, I've put the meal at your door. Remember to pick it up in time." I uttered an in response. But I didn't open the door immediately. There was no other reason. My husband Alex is on a business trip, and won't be back until tomorrow during the day. Right now, I am indeed alone at home. That voice just now was just played using the smart speaker in the living room controlled by my phone. I couldn't help feeling glad for my foresight in preparing this recording early. I wiped the cold sweat on my forehead. As long as the rider doesn't leave this building, I definitely don't dare to open the door to get this takeaway. I held my breath and leaned against the door, wanting to continue looking through the peephole. But after the corridor became quiet again, the voice-activated lights quickly went out. It became pitch black outside the door again, and I couldn't see anything. I didn't dare to move. But after I waited at the door for a while like this, I didn't find anything abnormal again. Doubts arose in my heart. Logically speaking, the rider has no reason to stay outside my door all the time. He should still have other orders and should leave quickly. But all the buildings in our unit are equipped with intelligent voice-activated lights. If the rider goes downstairs by elevator normally, it's impossible not to make any sound. I looked outside the door again. It was still pitch black and didn't look like there was anyone there. Could it be that the rider has left and I was just overthinking? Just then, goo. My stomach growled inappropriately. I looked in the direction of the kitchen at home. Before my husband Alex left, I cooked a big meal for him and almost emptied the refrigerator completely. Therefore, there is no food at all in my house now. If I don't take this takeaway, I'm afraid I can only go to bed hungry tonight. That's not a good thing. Thinking of this, I put my hands on the doorknob and planned to bring my takeaway into the house. But in the next second, there was a sudden cough outside the door. All the lights in the corridor lit up. I was startled. Through the peephole, I saw the rider holding a paper bag in one hand and a mobile phone in the other. He impatiently swiped the screen and then looked at my door suspiciously. The rider really hasn't left yet. Instantly, I was startled and broke out in a cold sweat. Could it be that he has already discovered my little trick of using recordings? I was scared, and a chill gradually rose from behind. If I had opened the door a second earlier and bumped into the rider, the consequences would be unimaginable. Just as I was thinking wildly, the rider outside the door suddenly moved. He glanced at his phone again, then took the paper bag and quickly walked a few steps into the stairwell beside. Tap, tap, tap. The footsteps were loud at first, and then became smaller, until they completely disappeared. The corridor fell into silence again. I clearly heard that the rider didn't go downstairs but continued to go up. This is even stranger. There are a total of 28 floors in our building, and the wedding house of Alex and me is located on the 27th floor, which is relatively high up, as it is a new real estate development. Most of the houses here are still in the decoration stage, and the residents haven't moved in yet. Alex and I were in a hurry because we bought a wedding house, and were among the first few owners to officially move in. As far as I know, only one household, 2801, currently lives on the 28th floor. The owner is a quite young girl and is very nice. Once when Alex and I were both at home, she even came to bring dumplings she had made by herself, saying that she had accidentally made too many. Her cooking skills are good. Alex and I saved the effort of making dinner and ate very happily. Could it be that this girl also ordered a takeaway? There is indeed such a possibility. To improve delivery efficiency, the platform usually assigns orders with similar delivery addresses to the same rider. Moreover, the girl upstairs should only be in her early 20s. Young people often have the habit of staying up late, at more than 10 o'clock at night. Ordering a takeaway to have an extra meal is normal. I thought for a while again. Fortunately, when the girl from 2801 brought dumplings before, she had added me as a friend. I found her from the list and sent a message. Dear, sorry to disturb you. Did you just order a takeaway? The girl should have been looking at her phone just then and replied very quickly, yes. Sister, what's wrong? Did it disturb you? I breathed a sigh of relief. It really was her takeaway. It seems that I was really overthinking. The rider standing at my door just now should have been confirming the order address. After all, it's still rare to have people upstairs and downstairs order takeaways at the same time. In this way, my inquiry seemed a bit inexplicable. To seem less abrupt, I carefully chose my words for a while before sending a message to the girl. It's nothing. I just want to remind you that it's better to be cautious. This rider was a bit offensive in his words when delivering food to me. Since you live alone, you still need to be careful. After sending the message, I waited for a while. The girl didn't speak again, perhaps after getting the takeaway. She couldn't wait to find a video to watch while eating. I am like this. When eating, I put work and social interactions aside and deal with them later. Thinking of this, I touched my almost starving stomach. I should eat too. So, I let out a long breath and slowly opened the door. The corridor was quiet. Only a little starlight shone in from the window and reflected on the ground. The takeaway was just outside the doormat at my door. It seemed that there was nothing abnormal. After making sure there were no suspicious people around, I took a big step out. But just at the second when I picked up the takeaway bag, bang! A huge crashing sound came from the 28th floor upstairs. Instantly, I felt a tingling sensation on my scalp. In the next second, I quickly retreated, entered the house, and locked the door. I hid behind the door, panting heavily. I was very sure that I definitely hadn't heard wrong. It was indeed the sound from upstairs. What on earth was that sound? I leaned against the wall in fear, and then sent a message to the girl in 2801. Dear, I just heard a very loud sound upstairs. Did something happen on your side? After thinking for a while, I added, is there anything I can do to help? If you are injured, I have a first aid kit at home. Don't be polite to me. Just when I was hesitating whether to call the police, the girl in 2801 finally replied. She sent a rather long explanation and attached a picture. It's nothing. Sister, thank you for your concern. I'm not injured. It's this takeaway rider. He was so clumsy that he spilled my food. I can clean it up by myself. Look if you don't believe me. Picture. I clicked on that picture. The takeaway the girl ordered should be mala tang. I saw that her takeaway box had been knocked over on the ground. Some ingredients were spilled on the ground. and the red oil soup was splashed all over the place. The scene was in a mess. Even the carpet in the corner of the picture was not spared, and was completely wet and turned red. It really was the takeaway that was knocked over. I frowned but still couldn't completely set my mind at ease. I always felt that the strange sound just now should not be just knocking over the takeaway. In comparison, it was more like the sound of a person's body hitting hard against other hard objects. I stared at that picture intently. For some reason, I always felt that this picture was not quite right. But I couldn't tell exactly what was wrong. What exactly is the problem? I closed my eyes and tried hard to recall the scene when the writer was at my door earlier. Finally, I realized what was wrong. Originally, when the writer was at my door earlier, I could clearly see. What he was holding in his hand was clearly a relatively small paper bag. But in the picture sent by the girl in 2801, the bowl of malatang was very large and the ingredients were quite abundant. It looked like it was enough for 2 people. And this amount definitely couldn't be contained in the small paper bag in the writer's hand. Moreover, in order to ensure the safety of the meal, merchants selling malatang usually pack it in plastic bags or aluminum foil insulation bags. Paper bags are not waterproof and are usually only used more in drugstores. What's going on here? My heart skipped a beat. And I suddenly remembered the horror movie I watched 2 days ago. In the movie, after the murderer killed someone, in order to buy himself time, he took the victim's mobile phone. He sent messages imitating the victim's tone to others to create the illusion that the victim was still alive. He also invited the victim's friends out so that he could continue to commit crimes. Thinking of this, I shivered solidly. Just when I was hesitating whether to call the police, the girl in 2801 suddenly sent me a voice message. I trembled and clicked on the voice message, afraid that what I would hear in the next second would be a death threat from a murderer. But soon, after I clicked on the voice message, the girl's sweet voice came into my ears. "Sister, I've cleaned up. Thank you for your concern. By the way, you just said that the takeaway writer was offensive to you. Although he didn't do anything to me, I'm still a bit scared. How did he offend you?" After sending the voice message, she also added a cute little cat emoji. Well, it's very in line with the characteristics of a young girl. Hearing her voice, my suspended heart finally completely settled down. It seems that I was really overthinking. She is still alive and well. I patted my head, somewhat annoyed by my neuroticismus. It must be because Alex is not at home and it's late at night now that I am so sensitive. There are many news about criminals breaking into houses and robbing these days. The girl in 2801 lies alone. I can understand her worry very well. So, I immediately told her about my experience just now. After finishing speaking, I couldn't help but complain a little more. Speaking of which, the profile picture on my takeaway platform is a group photo of me and my husband. It's very high definition. It's impossible for that writer not to have seen it. But even so, he still harassed me. It's really abominable. Hearing my description, the girl was a bit surprised. He still hit on you after seeing the picture of your husband? What a shameless person. She comforted me, and then joked. Like this? But what is sister afraid of? Your husband is so strong. Which blind man would dare to covet you? After saying that, she also sent an envious emoji. I smiled. She is not very old, but she can already tease people. After exchanging a few more pleasantries, the girl took the initiative to end this topic. Let's stop here. Sister, it's already very late. You should rest earlier. You too. Good night. The matter finally came to an end, and I could finally eat. I opened my takeaway. But as soon as I opened the bag, I found a strange thing in the corner. It was an object trapped in a black plastic bag. It was impossible to tell what it was from the outside. The sealing place was tightly wrapped with several rounds of adhesive tape. I squeezed it hard and found that the feel of that object was thin and soft. Seems to be something like clothing? I was a bit puzzled. But soon, I speculated that this must be something bought by 2801. Probably that careless rider accidentally dropped it out during the delivery and then casually put it in my bag, which caused this misunderstanding. Considering its packaging, I guess this should be some relatively private item. So, I didn't open it but planned to take it upstairs directly. I put on my shoes, picked up the key and went out. Since it was only one floor away, I didn't take the elevator but chose to go up directly by stairs. I habitually walked into the stairwell. Strangely, the voice-activated light that was fine just now seemed to be broken. The entire corridor was pitch black. There was no way. I could only step up one step at a time by the moonlight. Suddenly, I stumbled and almost tripped over something. Did someone put their things in the stairwell? So unqualified. I frowned and stretched out my foot forward to test again. But unexpectedly, where my instep touched, there was a warm and moist feeling. At the same time, a fishy smell gradually entered my nostrils. I was stunned for a moment and didn't react for a while. But soon, a terrifying thought suddenly rose in my mind. I trembled and turned on the flashlight function of my mobile phone and slowly shone it at my feet. And in the next second, the scene in front of me almost made me faint. It was a man. A dead man. The man was wearing the uniform of takeaway riders. His death was extremely tragic. At this moment, he was lying on his back with his eyes wide open, full of shock and unwillingness in his eyes. There was a huge wound on his chest. A stream of bright red blood was gushing out along the wound and gradually winding to the ground along with his body. The several steps below him starting from where he was were all completely stained red with blood. And the warmth and moisture I felt just now was precisely the blood under the man. I have a very serious blood phobia. I gasped in shock and felt a wave of dizziness in front of my eyes. The rider who delivered takeaway to me, and was fine not long ago, is now dead. I quickly fled back home. After closing the door, the bloody scene in my mind couldn't be dispelled. I felt a weakness in my legs and slid down along the door. I covered my mouth and tried my best not to scream. But there was an uncontrollable turmoil in my stomach. He's dead. This is the first time I have seen a dead person with my own eyes. I simply can't believe this fact. Who killed that rider? Is it the girl in 2801? No, she looks so delicate and weak. How could she be a match for an adult man? Could it be that? Is there someone else hidden in the stairwell of this building? Is it a wanted criminal? Is it random killing like in movies? I shook my head and tried hard to drive these meaningless speculations out of my mind. These are not issues I should consider. Then, I immediately called the police. Because of fear. My voice was trembling and I stuttered when speaking. It took me a lot of time to finally describe clearly my location and the situation I encountered. The police at the community police station comforted my emotions, and said that the on-duty police could come to my door within 10 minutes. They told me to stay at home well, and never open the door. After hanging up the phone, I finally calmed down a bit. Anyway, I just need to hold on for 10 minutes. I checked the door again to make sure the door lock was in the lock state. At the same time, I also went to the kitchen and picked a handy kitchen knife for self-defense. After doing all this, I finally felt a little safer. I stood at the entrance holding the kitchen knife and vowed that as long as the person who came was not the police, I would definitely not be polite. But just then, ding-ling, I was startled. In the silent late night, the notification sound of a new message on the mobile phone was particularly frightening. I unlocked the screen and found that it was a message just sent by my husband Alex. Is my wife at home? I changed my flight and planned to come home early to accompany you. How is it? Isn't this surprise great? Husband is already in the community. We'll see each other soon. Are you happy? Wife? Seeing Alex's message, my heart tightened. Why did Alex come back early at this time? Although I don't know which lunatic killed that rider. But the murderer is very likely still in this building. I quickly dialed Alex's number and wanted to persuade him not to come back for the time being. But after several consecutive calls, he rejected them all. Oh no. There was no way. So I had to type a message to inform Alex. Don't come back. There is a murderer in the building. I have called the police. Hide in the security room of the community first. This time, Alex replied instantly. Are you kidding? What murderer? Why don't you let me come home? Is there someone else at home? I was anxiously pacing around at home. Alex has a handsome appearance and a successful career. He is also good to me on weekdays and can be said to be a qualified husband. His only shortcoming is that he is often suspicious and jealous for no reason. After getting married, I have kept in normal distance from all my male classmates and colleagues. But Alex is sensitive and has suspected many times that I am having an affair. Now that he suddenly comes home early and hears me say this, he is even more suspicious that I am hiding someone at home. I had to send several more messages. There really is a murderer. I saw it with my own eyes. What I said is true. You have to believe me. Really. Wait outside. The police will be here soon. Please. I used several exclamation marks in a row, hoping that Alex would realize the seriousness of the matter. But it seemed that he couldn't listen to me at all. After a while, Alex sent a message. It's okay. Wife. Don't be afraid. I'm downstairs. I don't believe there is a murderer. Our community is so high-end, and the security has always been very good. If it's true, I should go back and protect you as soon as possible. I quickly ran to the door. I didn't dare to go out on my own against the police's instructions. I could only look at the situation outside through the peephole while separated by the door. The corridor was still pitch black, and didn't look like there was anyone. But after I waited outside the door for a long time, I didn't see a single person, nor did I hear any sound. This is strange. Alex clearly said just now that he was already downstairs. But the elevator in our corridor is not running at all. Could it be that the elevator is broken? I took out my phone and wanted to ask Alex about the situation. But I found that he just sent me a message. Wife. Look. I am now on the stairs between the 27th and 28th floors. Picture. It's very clean here. There is no corpse at all. Are you teasing me? Did you watch too many horror movies and have hallucinations? I'll go home now. You have to explain clearly to me. Little villain. I clicked on that picture. It was a photo of the stairwell taken by Alex. The stairwell in the picture was normal. Although there was some dust on the steps, there was no sign at all that there had been blood flowing. My hands trembled and my phone almost fell to the ground. How is this possible? Alex was still chattering and complaining. I say, you shouldn't watch so many horror movies and TV dramas. If you want to pass the time, learn from the girl upstairs. Plant some flowers. Do some yoga. How nice. Always staying at home and watching those things has made you have hallucinations. Okay. No more talking. I'll be home soon. Putting down the phone. My mind was completely in chaos. What on earth is going on? Could it be that I really lost my mind and had hallucinations? No way. I can be sure that I really saw a corpse with my own eyes. That's definitely the writer who delivered Takeaway to me. That strong smell of blood and that terrifying feeling are definitely real. There is really a corpse in the stairwell. It's not my hallucination. Corpse? Corpse? I suddenly realized something was wrong. Just then, bang bang bang. The door of my house was knocked on. Wife. I'm back. Why did you lock the door? Open the door quickly and let me in. After Alex knocked on the door a few times, he shouted. I just got close to the peephole to see what was going on outside. However, I found that my field of vision had become completely dark and I couldn't see anything. Something's not right. Is there something blocking the peephole? Wife? Where are you? Are you at home? I know you locked the door. Open it for me quickly. Don't pretend to be dead. Seeing that I didn't respond immediately, Alex's tone became more and more urgent. But I hesitated. Because I found something abnormal about Alex. I pulled out the chat records with Alex. Sure enough. Earlier, when I advised Alex not to come home, because I was too nervous, I only said that there was a murderer in the building. I didn't mention the corpse at all. But Alex knew there was a corpse in the building, and could accurately locate the specific stairwell. Moreover, I didn't hear the elevator operating just now. My house is on the 27th floor. A standard high-rise. Did Alex climb up the stairs one by one from the lobby? This is so strange. Coupled with the fact that the peephole that was working normally just now is suddenly blocked. Countless coincidences combined made me feel a creepy feeling. Who is standing outside the door? Is it really my husband Alex? My lips trembled a few times. Alex shouted again. This time, he directly called out my name. Open the door quickly. Song Tong. Open the door for me. I approached the door and said in a trembling voice in a volume that ensured Alex could hear clearly. Husband. Can you wait outside the door for a while? I'm a little scared. Can we wait for the police to come before opening the door? The air was stagnant for a moment. My heart was beating very fast. When Alex spoke again, his voice became much gentler. Don't be afraid. Wife. I've checked for you. There is no corpse. Open the door quickly and let me in so that I can better protect you. Sure enough. Alex knew about the existence of the corpse. My scalp tingled and I didn't dare to think about the reason behind it. Moreover, Alex's own words were also contradictory. Since it's not dangerous outside, why is he in such a hurry to enter? At this moment, Alex's gentleness was more like the whisper of a demon. I had to find another excuse to casually stall, but the peephole is broken. I can't see outside. Broken? Let me take a look. Alex's voice sounded a bit surprised. Oh. It seems there is a leaf blocking it. He muttered a sentence. And there was a rubbing sound on the door. Now it's okay. I've removed it. Take a look. I leaned against the door and looked outside. The peephole was really back to normal. The person standing outside was indeed Alex. But strangely, he was pressed tightly against the door. And there was almost no gap between his body and the door. He stood too close, so that I could only see the part above his shoulders. Wife, I don't know what you're afraid of. But now you can rest assured. Right? Let me in quickly. Is the air conditioner on at home? It's so hot in the corridor. I want to eat candied sweet potatoes. Can you make me a portion later? Hearing Alex's familiar tone, my heart was once again filled with hesitation. Was it too inhumane of me to keep my husband out like this? But the police will come soon. After listening to the police's explanation, Alex should not blame me. Right? Just as I was hesitating, my phone rang. I looked down and found a message from the girl in 2801. Don't let your husband in. My heart skipped a beat. The heart that had just calmed down a little now hung up again. Could it be that she knows something? I quickly typed and asked her what was going on, but no matter how I asked. After saying that sentence, she didn't respond anymore. I was so anxious that cold sweat flowed down. Because of nervousness, my lips were bitten by me. A strong smell of blood filled my mouth. What on earth is going on? The dead rider. The strange husband. The girl who speaks Sun clearly. My brain almost turned into a mess. Just then, I suddenly realized that Alex hadn't spoken for a while. Complete silence fell outside the door. A bad thought suddenly arose in my mind. I held my breath and trembled as I approached the peephole. I couldn't see anything. The night wind blew the curtains, making a rustling sound. Where is Alex? Why did he suddenly disappear? There was a sour taste in my mouth, and I subconsciously swallowed. Even though I was already pressed against the door, I still didn't notice any sound. Suddenly, bang bang bang, the door shook violently. In the next second, a sharp knife pierced through the door. The blade grazed past my ear. I screamed in fright, covered my ears and took a few steps back. Collapsing on the ground, the knife was quickly pulled back. Then, it fell heavily again. Bang! The person outside seemed to be using a lot of force. Soon, a hole the size of an apple was cut on the door. I trembled and took a few steps back. Alex sneered. I have to thank you, wife. After saying that, he kicked open the door along the crack and came in from outside. I held the kitchen knife and forced Alex to keep a distance from me. But I felt a weakness in my arm. Alex's eyes were full of bloodshot eyes. And his eye sockets were almost cracked from staring. I had never seen him like this. He stared fixedly at the kitchen knife in my hand and suddenly smiled. What are you laughing at? I asked loudly. To embolden myself and gain time. Alex didn't answer me. In the next second, incredibly, he threw himself at me as if he didn't care about his life. I instinctively closed my eyes and brandished the kitchen knife. What sound? Police. Put your hands down. I opened my eyes. Several people in uniforms trotted all the way into my house and quickly controlled Alex. The police had arrived. I was finally saved. Suddenly relaxing from the highly tense state. I felt a wave of dizziness. In the next second, I fell down directly. When I woke up again, it was already the evening of the next day. In the hospital, the police, combining my statement and the on-site traces, gradually restored the truth of the matter. It turned out that my husband, Alex, had long been having an extramarital affair. And his affair partner was the girl living in 2801 upstairs from my house. On the day of the incident, under the guise of a business trip, he was actually spending a wonderful night with the girl in 2801. This immoral behavior just one ceiling away gave him a great sense of excitement. This shameless couple even ordered some sex toys on the takeaway platform before having sex. Coincidentally, almost at the same time, I also ordered a late-night snack takeaway. And these two orders were received by the same writer. Since I said in the note that I only wanted half a portion of rice, the writer guessed that I was a woman living alone at home and made offensive remarks. But soon he was deceived by my little trick of using recordings. In addition, after finding that my profile picture was a group photo with my husband and knowing that I was married, the writer gave up his intention towards me and went to deliver the order to 2801 instead. Unfortunately, Alex sinned beyond guard against the takeaway rider. When he opened the door to get the takeaway, the rider recognized him as my husband at a glance. After the rider discovered the secret, he demanded hush money from Alex. Otherwise, he would immediately go downstairs and tell me Alex's secret of cheating, causing our marriage to break up. Alex's career was on the rise and couldn't afford the scandal of cheating and divorce. But he didn't want to give money either. So, he had an argument with the writer. In a moment of impulse, Alex actually directly killed the writer to silence him. Learning from the girl in 2801 that I had been harassed by this writer, Alex began to plan to push this matter onto me. He tried to make the scene look like I was harassed by the writer, and we killed each other after an argument. However, just when he had first moved the body to the stairwell and was cleaning up the bloodstains, coincidentally, I found the wrongly delivered item and wanted to go upstairs and give it to the girl in 2801. In this way, I found the writer's body and called the police. After Alex learned of this, he was extremely panicked. Because once the police were called, they would arrive soon and he would have no time to deal with the body and forge an alibi. At that time, the facts of his cheating and murder would be exposed. This was outside of Alex's plan. The girl in 2801, seeing that framing couldn't work, became hesitant and persuaded Alex that it would be better to surrender himself. But Alex had completely gone crazy. He refused to accept reality and even stabbed the girl who didn't agree with his plan. Then, in a desperate move, he made a show of going home temporarily and intended to kill me. But fortunately, in order to protect myself, I had already locked the door. So, Alex tried his best to persuade me to open the door. After being in love for many years, I was very dependent on Alex. So, I did hesitate. Fortunately, at a critical moment, the dying girl in 2801 still had a conscience. With her last breath, she picked up her phone and sent me a message to remind me. As for what happened later, I knew it all. After listening to the police's account, I was filled with emotions. Some details that I hadn't noticed before were now also clear. Why did the girl bring dumplings to me and Alex? Because she was provoking. She lived alone, and it was impossible for her to accidentally make too much for two people. Why was Alex always suspicious of me and suspecting that I was having an affair? Because he was unfaithful to marriage himself. He was sensitive and judged others by himself. Why in the picture sent by the girl was the takeaway that should have been contraceptives turned into Molotang? Because she wanted to use the red oil in the Molotang to cover up the blood stains on the carpet. In this way, it seems that everything makes sense. Seeing that I was still in shock, the police looked at me pitifully. The resident of 2801 has died and Alex has been controlled by the police. But he said earlier that he had some words he wanted to say to you alone. Thinking of what Alex had done to me, I couldn't help but feel a wave of nausea. But I know that things are not over yet. I must use the weapon of law to make him get the punishment he deserves. I closed my eyes and let out a long breath. Where is he? Take me there.